Socrates, the father of Western philosophy. Welcome back to Moonlit by K. Tonight, we're going on a journey back to ancient Greece to explore the life and teachings of one of the most fascinating philosophers of all time, Socrates. As we begin, let yourself sink into a peaceful state, breathing deeply and letting your mind relax. Socrates believed that the search for wisdom starts within. So let your thoughts flow freely as we explore the wisdom of this great thinker. Chapter 1: The Early Life of Socrates. Socrates was born around 470 BCE, also known as before Common Era, in Athens, a city renowned for its intellectual and artistic achievements. Growing up in this vibrant atmosphere, young Socrates was surrounded by ideas, discussions, and debates that would shape his lifelong pursuit of truth. Yet, unlike many of the philosophers of his time, Socrates didn't write down his ideas or record his thoughts in books. Instead, he wandered the streets of Athens, talking to people from all walks of life. He didn't teach in the formal way that we might imagine a philosopher would today. No grand lectures, no written works. Instead, Socrates preferred simple conversations, dialogues. He believed that real understanding didn't come from memorizing facts, but from questioning them, challenging them, and deeply thinking about what they really meant. Chapter 2: The Socratic Method. This brings us to one of Socrates' most significant contributions to philosophy, what we now call the Socratic Method. It wasn't a method in the sense of a set of rules, but more like an approach to thinking. When Socrates spoke with someone, he didn't just lecture or tell them what he believed. Instead, he would ask them a series of questions. These questions were meant to make people think about their beliefs, to examine their assumptions, and to consider ideas from different angles. Imagine yourself walking along the bustling streets of ancient Athens, where you come across Socrates, who would likely start with a simple question. Perhaps he would ask, "What is justice?" Or "What is courage?" You might give an answer, something you believed was correct, but then, gently, Socrates would ask more questions. How do you know that? What if the situation were different? Slowly, your certainty would begin to fade. You'd realize how little you truly understood about the concept you thought you knew so well. Socrates believed that wisdom began with admitting that you didn't know everything. It's this pursuit of knowledge, this idea that we must question everything, that was at the heart of his philosophy. Chapter 3: Socrates and the Oracle at Delphi. There's a famous story about Socrates that begins with a visit to the Oracle at Delphi, a sacred site in ancient Greece where people would go to ask the gods for advice. According to legend, a friend of Socrates asked the oracle whether there was anyone wiser than Socrates. The oracle's response was, "No one is wiser." When Socrates heard this, he was perplexed. He didn't believe he was wise at all. In fact, he believed that he knew nothing. But as he thought about it, he realized that what set him apart was that while others claimed to know many things, he understood the limits to his knowledge. He knew that he didn't know, and that in itself was wisdom. This idea, this true wisdom, comes from understanding how little we truly know, is one that echoes through the centuries, reminding us of the importance of humility and self-awareness in our quest for knowledge. Chapter 4: Socrates' influence on Plato. Socrates' life had a profound influence on many people, including his most famous student, Plato. Plato would later go on to write many philosophical works, most of which feature Socrates as a central character. Through Plato's writings, we're able to learn about Socrates' thoughts, methods, and beliefs, even though Socrates himself never wrote anything down. One of the most famous of these works is The Apology, which details the trial of Socrates in 399 BCE. Socrates was put on trial, accused of corrupting the youth of Athens and of impiety, or not believing in the gods of the city. In his defense, Socrates didn't apologize in the way we think of today. Instead, he defended his life's work and his commitment to asking difficult questions. He believed that his role in society was to act as a gadfly, someone who challenges and provokes, pushing others to think critically. Chapter 5: Socrates' Death and Legacy. Unfortunately, Socrates' defense did not win over the jury, and he was sentenced to death by drinking hemlock, a poison. Socrates accepted his fate calmly. He believed that the pursuit of truth and virtue was more important than his own life. In the final moments, as described by Plato, Socrates' last words were said to have been, "Crito, we owe a cock to Asclepius. Pay it and don't forget." These words were a reference to the Greek god of healing, as if to say that his death was a kind of healing or release from the earthly world. Even in death, Socrates' commitment to his beliefs was unwavering. His death only strengthened his legacy, as philosophers for centuries would continue to study his life and his teachings. Chapter 6: Socrates' Lasting Legacy. As we drift further into this peaceful journey, let's reflect on what Socrates left behind. His emphasis on questioning the world around us and not taking things at face value, but diving deeper into understanding, reminds us to stay curious, even when we feel unsure. It's okay not to have all the answers. Wisdom comes from recognizing that learning is a lifelong process. And so tonight, as you close your eyes, let yourself embrace the calmness that comes from not needing to know everything, but being open to discovery, to wonder, and to the beauty of the unknown. Let this quiet reassurance of Socrates' wisdom guide you into a restful sleep. May you dream of ancient Greece, of curious minds, and of peaceful inquiry. Remember, the journey to wisdom is as important as the wisdom itself.